Hey, Ken Silvestri here, Broadway Limited Imports. The first order of business is the BLI 2014 catalog. The good news is that the catalog is at the printer. The bad news is it's still 2 to 3 weeks away. But meanwhile, you can go to Broadway-limited.com where you can order a catalog for free or download a copy and view it today. When people think of Broadway Limited, they think of high-quality sound locomotives. But we have another side, and that's rolling stock. Our rolling stock shares the same high quality and has very precise free-rolling trucks. They're nicely weighted, and they have much hand-applied detail. Now here's Bob Grubba to show you some of those details.
What I have here is an unpainted sample of the Pennsylvania H32 hopper. And the reason I have it unpainted is so you can see a lot of the little detail parts, see how it's constructed, and I'll explain a little bit of why. First, you'll notice that the body is ABS plastic. It gives it very good detail, easy to paint on. The paint adheres, it won't peel off, and it's light. If it was die-cast, the detail doesn't show as well, and it gets a little bit too heavy. We do make a die-cast chassis. You can see it on the bottom. And the reason for that is it gives it just enough weight that the cars can stay on the track. If they're too light, it's hard to pull a long string of them. They'll derail in the corners. Also, it gives it strength. You'll notice the couplers are connected on the die-cast chassis end to end. So you pull a really long train, you won't be able to damage this car. There are a number of pieces you'll see that are brass. These ladder rungs are brass. Some of the handrails around the side are brass. And the reason for that is those are such small parts in scale that if we made them plastic, they'd be easy to break. And I'm sure you've had the experience of pulling a detailed product out of the box and having a bunch of little pieces fall off in the bottom. And we try to make that not happen with the Broadway models. Then on the top, you'll see this walkway on here. This is photo-etched brass. It's a real thin sheet of brass that we use a photo process to mask the portions that we don't want to dissolve. And then we cut these little holes out using an acid. And the reason we do that is that's the only way you can get this fine a detail in this small part. And then a couple other things. You'll notice some of the air hoses on the side and the trucks. Those are made out of a very strong engineered plastic called polycarbonate. And the reason for using polycarbonate on these parts is it's very durable. These parts are subject to a lot of abuse, and you see I can bend this part back and forth and it won't break. You just about can't break that. Whereas if it was brass or anything else, a different type of plastic or metal, it would snap. Okay. I've pulled one of the axles out just to show you how the axles are constructed. And each of our axles is a solid steel axle. It's got needle points on either end that form the bearing surface of the truck. And that gives you a nice free-rolling truck so that you can pull a lot of cars with the locomotive without stalling it down. Then the two wheels on, those are actually turned brass parts. And the reason for that, it's kind of expensive, but it's the best way to get a perfectly round part. We turn it on a little lathe, and then those are pressed onto the steel axle. And to keep it from shorting one side to the other, there's a small plastic insulator inside there. So all of our rolling stock axles are constructed the same way, and it makes for a nice free rolling car.
Well, I think you'll agree Broadway has some very cool rolling stock. Now, the Express reefers, the steel-sided box cars, the K7 stock cars, sound and no sound, the sound always makes me smile, are at dealers today. Available for pre-orders are the H2A 3-bay hopper, the 70-ton quad hopper, and the H32 covered hoppers. You can see all the pictures and descriptions online at broadway-limited.com. So thank you very much again. Until next time, happy railroading.